Hey, look at that. We're ready to roll. We have a new producer.
Rolling.
Today because he's been doing a couple of shows, but I wasn't here, so it didn't count, right? Anyway, let's get to a huge guest today. Doug Armstrong, GM of the St. Louis Blues, formerly of the Dallas Stars. And there's Sam. He's going to be on to talk about a lot of stuff. We could do 4 hours with Doug, but we're going to stick with about a half hour or so. He'll be up in a little bit right here on DLLS. Let's get it started.
Now I have a mic.
This is the DLLS Stars podcast, Friday, September 5th, alongside Craig Ludwig, Sam Nessler, I'm Owen Newkirk, and our producer, that's right, third one, whichever way you like to hold up a three, Ryan Vaughters. Now, Sam did sort of a soft open the other day at the very end of the show. We had a little more pomp and circumstance than
I'm
that.
an excellent host.
Ryan Vaughters is our producer now.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Hey, guys.
he's on. His microphone is almost as far away as he wants it to be.
Hey, you know how we have the little counter for our guy, Pavs?
Mm-hmm. You mean the Pavelski ding?
Yeah. Did I not just say Pavs?
Well, you're testing him. He's trying to get the show going.
Okay.
We'll work him in.
So-
Listen, we're going to be doing drops with Ryan. We're just working on it.
We should have a counter for the number or days that our producers actually last with us.
I like that.
How many days since somebody's walked off our show?
Yeah.
Okay. Big show today because Doug Armstrong, the general manager of the St. Louis Blues, and of course, former GM of the Dallas Stars, will be joining us. And more importantly, Lud's buddy. He's going to be coming up at about 1:15 live on the show today. So next segment, we will say hi to Army. And boy, does he have a lot of things we can talk to him about. So that'll be a lot of fun. But before we do that, speaking of Joe Pavelski and the dings everywhere, see if you got it. Did it go? I didn't hear it.
No.
Didn't go?
We're giving him 14
we're
things
training
to
him.
do
There
already.
it goes. Anyway, big news a couple days ago as not Team USA, but USA Hockey announced their 2025 not draft class, Hall of Fame class, USA Hockey Hall of
And
Fame.
an excellent
we were
graphic
talking
made
about
by
the draft,
Kat.
and you guys put that together really quickly.
That's Cat.
And there was even, I believe, see, look at the
There's a
bottom
bell.
left corner if you're watching on YouTube. It's just really tiny little ding
Oh my
bell.
God, I never even noticed.
Little
Yep.
Easter egg
Yeah.
that she put in there. But Joe Pavelski was part of the class of 2025 U.S.
Oh,
Hockey
God.
Hall of Fame. The real bell's kind of fun, isn't it? Yeah. Go for it.
Can they hear that?
I think they can hear the bell in the background maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Don't we have people that can Twitter in and tell us if they can hear it
They
or not?
could
or whatever?
probably
They
do
can
that.
Twitter
Yes.
in.
So the other members of the draft class, Bruce Bennett, Scott Gomez, Tara Mounsey, and Zach Parise. Obviously, Parise, Gomez, Pavelski, NHL players. Tara was a U.S. women's hockey multi-medalist. But we wanted to talk about Joe Pavelski a little bit because with the other 31 and and now he's getting into it. I'm telling you, Ryan's going to be a lot of fun. You guys didn't have a lot of time to talk about it when it happened. That's why you wanted to do a graphic the other day for our Twitter account, because we had Buffalo Sabres stuff. We did the Vancouver stuff yesterday.
Yep.
You had Nate Bastian on. I believe that was before the news came out.
Yes.
So let's talk about Joe Pavelski as if we haven't talked about him a million times on this show.
It's going to be a top segment.
Luds, he obviously deserves it. There is some debate with Pavs. Sorry, Ryan. If he's Hockey Hall of Fame worthy. But I think there's a no-brainer that he's U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame.
Oh,
Is there?
Shoe in.
I don't want to
Obviously.
start talking about Pavs making the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame with a negative thought, but is there some legit question of that he may or may not be of the level of the. Oh wait, before we do, Ben's watching, and I completely got excited about introducing Ryan. I have to mention two things really quickly off the top of the show. Then I'll ask
Did
you
he
about
just
that.
shock you that you remembered that? You got a
He's
buzzer
got
on
a
here?
collar
I
on.
literally got a yeah. So, two things: Big Brothers, Big Sisters. We are doing a big donation month, trying to celebrate a very, very good cause. If you are watching on YouTube right now, you'll notice that there is not the usual super chat button that we, of course, go crazy for during Stars games, which are coming up sooner than later. September 20th, first preseason game, and we will do a pre and post game for that and all preseason games. But right now, there's a Big Brothers Big Sisters donate button there. So if you have the means within you, please click on that link and donate. It is a wonderful cause. We're trying to reach a big goal. Help us get to that. And of course, if you do donate during the show, let us know in the chat. Put in a request like you would for a super chat. We'll read out what you say within, of course, good taste reason. We'll let Luds decide if it's in good taste. And then, of course, if you have a drop or something you want Ryan to try to find from that catalog that John built. And don't worry, as soon as Ryan gets comfortable with our show, he's going to start adding his own drops and having some fun. And we'll see how it all goes. He's over there going, oh, geez, what did I get into already?
New producer Monday.
But there's also another thing going on, and you may have already noticed because we've got a couple of.
That was.
I'm guessing that's like a
that
super
the thing?
chat. I think that's the supporters club. Look at
It
this.
says SC on it, so
True. You can see it on the card. True sicko level stuff. So there's a new thing that you can do.
let's pay attention.
You can get into the YouTube supporters
I'm
club for
already confused what's
DLS.
going on.
As you can see, since 2025. So it's just brand new. Look at the bottom right of the screen. You will have access to, if you join the supporters club, this is not being a diehard.
Is that a
This
jock?
is different. This is for extra emojis, including we have a bing bong emoji. It looks like in our chat already that Jeremy, Dan, and Austin all put in welcome to the Hall of Fame. I think you get a special color and a little ID badge in the chat when you do that. So
Tell you right now, you stand out.
yeah,
Looking at
I mean,
our
I
chat here,
immediately
you can
saw
see
those.
it very
So,
clearly.
if you are a real sicko, and by the way, GM Ben said he heard the bell
Perfect.
when he hit the real bell. When Ryan hit the Pavelski bell, he heard it. The physical bell, not just the drop sounding bell.
Got
So
a big speaker over there at Hooters, or how does he hear
supporters
that bell?
club. Yeah, he must be. If you want to get involved with that, that is really cool. And they are going to add exclusive emojis and apparently special content, even some special videos. Maybe it's watching Sam get stuck at an airport where he's not supposed to be his final destination.
Worth all the money in the
It
world.
very much could be a lot of fun. All right. Now, Luds. Now we've satisfied that. Again, I got excited introducing Ryan, our new producer. And in sincerity, we are very much excited about Ryan. He knows hockey a bit. More than a bit. He's been doing stuff with, unfortunately, the Ducks on Victory Plus, which means that maybe he hasn't been watching the best of hockey lately, right? They're getting better.
Yeah, they're going to be different team.
Anyway, Luds, Joe Pavelski. Pause for dings. He's busy doing his job. There it is.
That's the easy one because they don't even have to find it.
I know. You don't have
just
to find it. Just hit the dang
smack
bell.
it.
Is there any doubt in your mind that he, like, clearly a U.S. Hockey Hall of Famer? No doubt.
Yeah.
What about Hockey Hall of Fame?
So Joe has 1332. That's how many games he's played. He's 24 goals short of 500.
Yep.
He's over 1,000 points.
Yep.
He's not a point per guy, over his career. And he doesn't have that Stanley Cup.
Yep.
I don't know if he's won any major awards.
Won silver at
Okay,
20,
but
2010,
I'm talking
individual
NHL
awards.
awards, and I don't know if he's won any of those. Somebody can Google a thing and find out.
Google.
But I think and then as far as world championships and all that other kind of stuff. So, and I'm always beating the drum for Pat Verbeek. Beaker's over 500. He's got 3,000 penalty minutes. He's got I don't know how many ever games he's got played, 1,600 or something like that.
No
he's
individual
not in.
awards.
Yeah. So do we think he is? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, from what we've seen him here, USA Hockey, easy. I mean, it's a
no-brainer,
no-brainer.
right? Is he the best ever net front player, attacking net front player?
Well, that depends on what. No.
tipper of
Okay,
pucks.
you want to say tipper?
Okay,
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
So different than parking yourself in front of the crease.
Yeah, because Joe isn't that big force
No.
in front. You know what I'm saying? Like,
We can't all be
but
Craig Ludwig on the
from
power play.
Yeah, well, from exactly.
Or Nate Bastian on the
Mr.
power play.
Bogdaney, remember them 7 goals in 1 year.
Yeah.
You know, I think that the work that Joe put in, and again, he's not a big guy. You know, he's not a big guy that's gonna. But what he's able to do is the hand-eye coordination that he has to be able to put pucks in on his backhand, on his forehand, between his legs, and everything he did. It's hard for a defenseman to play against a guy like that, because there are certain ways you play against those people to make sure their sticks are taken care of, and they can't do those things. But the way that Joe positions himself, and he's able to get a puck there, and I think that for defensemen that are shooting that puck, Joe is probably very similar to when I explained one day about Zubov and Hull, and Hully was said, I got to be in this certain spot, and Zuby's like, no, don't worry about it. Just go there. I'll get you the puck. I think for Joe, as a defenseman, you're not trying to place it in a certain area. You're just trying to get it somewhere around the net, and Pavelski can get a stick on it. So he's, and I would think he's, you know, again, arguably anybody that's played against him or watched him play for years, they're going to say he's the best in the business at that. But that doesn't get you into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Right.
You know, that's the only problem. So I don't even know if Joe would expect himself to be in there. I have no idea. But it'd be nice when he comes on our show, we can ask him that question.
How's that coming?
No,
Well,
we can't have a bell on that
We're
show,
doing
right?
the soft touch. Like,
Gotcha.
like I told you, he sent me a text message yesterday or day before and stuff like that with balloons and all that kind of stuff. And but anyways,
You know he was Wisconsin Badger, college hockey player, Big Ten. Actually, I don't think it was the Big Ten. I think it was WCHA. Back
you realize
then,
that my best friend coached him.
I'm just
Okay.
saying.
Okay.
I just thought I'd bring up college hockey.
Yeah. I actually called Jack the other day and asked him some questions about, you know, I was actually asking more about Caulfield because Jack coached his dad or knows his dad and stuff like that. And then Pavs, I asked Pavs about Caulfield because they're from the same hometown in Wisconsin. And so Pavs had some good things to say about Cole, also Caulfield, Montreal Canadiens. So
Who's pretty good.
Yeah, he's.
What about this? He's 14th all time in Stanley Cup playoff goals. He has, I believe, top 40. If I was looking at that right, yeah, 40, tied for 40th with Ron Francis in Stanley Cup playoff career points, 143. If he had a Stanley Cup championship, is he in the Hall of Fame? Hockey Hall of Fame. Because
I think you need that.
He's got great numbers. You're right. It doesn't hit the Verbeek.
Has Joe Thornton won a Stanley Cup?
No.
He has
all
not.
That time. Right.
None of
Has
those
he
guys
won
did.
other tournaments, like world champions?
I think Olympic gold, right? Was
Yeah,
he on
should have
that
been on
Canadian
that
team?
2010. Same one that beat.
You know, because I
probably.
mean, when
Because he has more points than Joe Thornton in the playoffs in his career.
yeah, well, I'm just saying, like when Thornton got the call, he acted all like, oh my god, like I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
I think everybody kind of expected
Yeah.
it, but again, you know, his numbers are incredible too. I mean, he played for 20 plus years.
He was also a 1-1, whereas Pavs was 205th in his draft class.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
No, but it's pretty remarkable that, and you know, Sean wrote a piece on our website. If you haven't gone to alldls.com, check it out. That of all the players in maybe it's arguably the best draft class in the history of the NHL, one of them, 2003. It has a ton of huge names. Joe Pavelski, number 205, 7th rounder, has more points in his NHL career regular season than any of those others. And we're talking Eric Stahl, Patrice Bergeron, Ryan Getzlaf, Corey Perry, Brent Burns.
See, all that just
I could
means that
rattle.
draft class, all the GMs were brain dead at the time. Didn't take them.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
but
Take 'em
also
early.
I don't know if he necessarily stood out individually.
Yeah.
I mean, his hockey sense is off the chart,
Yeah.
right? That's why he's there. And his talent, and you talked about the work he put in.
Yeah. Here's what I want to say about Joe, because I don't know if this puts him in the Hall of Fame. I don't think you can really get put in the Hall of Fame for off ice or different types of things. But the
I
stuff,
don't think so.
the stuff. I just mean like what he brings to a team.
Yeah.
Like think about the first thing when people ask about Joe Pavelski. It's something about the leadership. He's a captain for Team USA. He was a captain for the San Jose Sharks. He was an alternate captain here. He does so much. All the stuff with Wyatt Johnston and Logan Stankoven, all the things that he brings around the room, the leadership, the stuff he's going to bring to a room eventually one day in some sort of role, we think. He just brings all of that stuff off the ice. And the other thing is that, and I think Scott Gomez mentioned this in that press conference with all the USA guys the other day, he's just in the right spot at the right time. Like you put Joe Pavelski out there in the end of a game and you're like, okay, he's probably going to score the goal. And he does. He's basically saved the Stars 2020 run in the bubble because he scored that goal late against Calgary to save the series from going 3-1. They end up winning the game and winning the series. That's just Joe Pavelski. He does that in every moment. He goes out there and he scores that goal to keep a game alive. He scores that late goal to win the series. And that may not put you in the Hall of Fame, but that is what puts you in the elite of people's minds when you think of it. Whether he's in the Hall of Fame league technically or not, he's one of the best that ever did it in many people's minds.
Antoine Roussel scored some timely goals too, but I don't think he's getting a call.
That penalty shot against the Chicago Blackhawks was one of my favorite Roussel moments. But yeah, congratulations to Joe Pavelski, as he is will be inducted this
now
winter.
He's getting into it. He's going to break it.
Yeah,
it's already
he's into
dented.
it now. They'll be inducted in, I believe, is December in Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota
this year. So and maybe we can have him on. By the way, before we get to our next segment and our guest, Harry in the chat said, "Could Pavs join the show and wear a bell around his neck?" We might have to suspend the bell for a Joe Pavelski.
We're working
in
on
studio.
Joe joining the show.
Yes.
And we'll worry about the cowbell after that.
All right, up next, the GM of the St. Louis Blues, Doug Armstrong, will join our show next here on DLLS.
Looking for an afternoon of great conversation, good company, and a chance to make a difference? Tune into our show. Then join us for Big Brothers Big Sisters 4th Annual Cigars and Conversations, happening Saturday, September 13th from 2 to 6 p.m. at Casa de Monte Cristo in Dallas. Enjoy premium cigar, complimentary drink, connect with people who are Big Brothers, Big Sisters, board members, staff, and community leaders, all coming together to inspire change. Learn how you can become a mentor and positively impact your person's life, a young person's life, that is. Ask questions, share stories, and discover how you can get involved. Whether you're a seasoned supporter or just curious, this is your chance to network, engage, and be the change. That's Cigars and Conversations, Saturday, September 13th, 2 to 6 p.m. at Casa de Monte Cristo. Be the change, be a mentor. Visit the link in the description for more on the event and Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Good job, lads.
All right, let's talk about Prize Picks.
Thanks, man.
The episode today is brought to you by Prize Picks. Preseason football is no longer a thing because we are regular season football now.
Cowboys are 0-1.
Cowboys are 0-1. But it was a good football game last night. Cowboys and Eagles played. College football is underway, and you can play on Prize Picks and have so much fun from game to game. And it's actually really entertaining, especially for games that you might not otherwise have a huge investment in. Now, for Luds, if you are always on the other side of Dallas or Green Bay, depending on where he's located at that moment,
mad at him.
he's got plenty in at stake there. But maybe that Jacksonville Carolina game doesn't really wet his whistle so much. But with Prize Picks, you can set your lineups and have a lot of fun with 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can win up to 2,000 times your money. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season and have a lot of fun doing so. And of course, all the withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code DLLS to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code DLLS for $5 in lineups after you play your first $50 in lineups when you play your first 5. Prize Picks, run your game. Like I haven't read that one before. Yeah, thank you.
Good job.
All right, let's welcome on our guest. Ryan, is he ready to go?
He's
yeah,
right
he
there.
is. Doug Armstrong, the general manager of the St. Louis
let's
Blues.
show off my big fancy office too. You're probably sitting in your basement, aren't you, Army?
And Luds is just ready to carve him for the next half hour or so. Doug, thanks for joining us, and I appreciate you standing in front of the dartboard as Luds winds up and starts throwing.
No problem. My pleasure.
Okay, we have a lot to get to, but this is your guest. You get to lead it off, Luds.
Oh, okay. Army, well, the first one, let's start with this. Well, I got a couple of them. I'm going to rattle a couple off here, but I don't know if you were listening. Joe Pavelski enters the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. Can you explain way better than I did why not he won't be a Hockey Hall of Fame inductee?
Yeah, I think he's going to be on the cusp of that. I think probably Joe seems to be the player that if he's in your organization, you respect him a lot more than just watching him play 2 or 3 times a year in a different city. I was listening to all the characteristics of a champion. His ability to bring younger players along, I think, are things that you see internally. And I also think, quite honestly, playing in San Jose, when if you take that career and you put it on the East Coast, he might have a better chance to get in. But I don't know him very well. Every time I've had a chance to meet him, he seems like a Hall of Fame person, and his on ice record does speak for itself. He's a hell of a player. Was a hell of a player, and certainly deserving of the USA honor. And I think he certainly will be on the cusp of the Hall of Fame.
So here's what I wanted to start the show with, if it wasn't for Joe popping on here again. Joe Pavelski, by the way, Ryan.
Trying to get the bell again.
Ryan's playing on his phone. We got a special bell we're supposed to be dinging
When
every
you say
time.
playing, it's because Sam texted him a message.
Army, by the way, the last time I was texting with you, I think you were in Europe. Where'd you go in Europe, by the way?
Actually had a good trip. I went to a wedding, over a destination wedding, which I still don't get the concept of. But we went over to Italy for that, and then I met 7 friends, and we went golfing in Ireland and Scotland. So it was a win-win. My wife had a great time in Italy, and I had a great time golfing.
That's what I wanted to hear. And I was waiting to hear if you went to Italy or not. Because I'm wondering if that was a recruiting trip that Hockey Canada, for some reason, because you are the general manager of Team Canada. Is that a little write-off then, that trip?
I might find a way to expense the odd meal.
Army, okay, here's what I want to start. You and I have a guy in common, okay? And, going back to your days, obviously, here in Dallas, you've won a Stanley Cup as an assistant general manager. Now you've won one, obviously, in 2019, I think it is, of being the guy at the helm. I've always said that Bob Gainey is my Scotty Bowman whenever I talk to people about it, because it's just, and Scotty's such a big guy. And I was curious, what does Bob mean to you in your career? It's funny, every time I hear Butts talk, Craig Buttons, we had Butts in the studio here, and he can't
showing off some leg too,
yeah,
by the way.
Yeah, he's got I didn't know if he had riding a chicken or what those were sticking out of his pants, but he can't go 2 sentences without mentioning Bob. For good reason. And so I'm just curious your thoughts on Bob Gainey.
Yeah, obviously, I started to work for Bob, and then we became very good friends, and still are in constant contact. Quite honestly, Les, everything I've learned in hockey started with working for Bob Gainey and Bob Clark. And I was thinking about this as I prepared to talk to you guys. Like with the Olympics, with the St. Louis team, with the Dallas team, when he brought yourself and Mike Lawler, Mike Keane, McPhee in there, when Ilka Sinicello, Brian Prop, like names that you're aware of, a lot of people I know, they had that winning pedigree, and that's I learned from that about being part of a team was, what it meant to them, and how a team could overcome any great 1 or 2 players. And I've tried to carry that really throughout my career in management, assembling teams over individuals. And but I could never say enough great things about Bob Gainey, not only as a mentor but as a friend.
What was it like, Doug, coming to Dallas? Because you started with the North Stars. I believe it was 1990, if I'm not mistaken. And so a couple years later, you're part of the relocation. And we've talked to Luds a lot about it because it's such an interesting part of this organization's history. But from your perspective, coming to Dallas, a place that did not have much hockey, and trying to establish not only roots, but also a fan base from the ground up.
Yeah, there was a lot of great stories when about coming here. I remember it was the February before we came. We were all ready to go to Anaheim. Actually, we thought the team was going to relocate to Anaheim, and then all of a sudden Disney wanted a team, and so Mr. Green was told find another place. So we scrambled. We went to Dallas, and it was great, from starting out at Valley Ranch and trying to build a practice rink to build a team. One of my favorite stories was, as an assistant manager at the time, my job was to do the schedule. So I would say, "What's a good night to play?" Well, you can't play Fridays. There's high school football. You can't play Saturdays. There's college football. You can't play Sundays. I said, "So our home days would be like Tuesday around noon? Is that what we're shooting for?" But we got there, and we had Bob had assembled a very physical team. One of my favorite people on and off the ice, Shane Churley, became a local hero there with his robust play, and we had other players that came in, and it was a great time to be part of that Dallas scene. Dallas was so much different than Minneapolis and St. Paul. The energy was great. The style of play, I think the fan base really loved, and Reunion Arena was a great rink, and we became a good team in relatively short order too. So everything just came together. But we loved our time in Dallas. It went by so quick. I was there until I got let go in 2008, and my daughter lives there now. It's I still have great memories of Dallas, and just being part of something that grew so quickly, as Luddy can attest to. Like, we got there, then all of a sudden we're a top team in the league. We're winning President's trophies and going to the Stanley Cup Finals, and it almost seems surreal that the city itself hadn't paid its dues. When you see a number of cities that are in for a long time, and all of a sudden Craig's group of players just came in and took the league by storm, and it was a great first 7 or 8 years, and it has now turned into just a hotbed of hockey, one of the premier locations to play. They have zero issue getting players there. They got a great building, great ownership, and I think it started with the foundation that Bob Gainey built.
Doug, you just mentioned the city, and a lot of talk around Florida with the Sunrise States and then Tampa before that is not just the winning and getting people to enjoy the NHL team, but everything else in the city, right? Building the youth hockey around the city and everything that comes with it. A lot of talk about that happening in Dallas because of that 1999 Cup team, and then obviously the success around that time. What did you see in the city outside of the NHL team that came from the championship?
Well, just the number of rinks, the Dr. Pepper Star Centers that were being built. All of a sudden, we had young players. My son was in youth hockey at that time, and all of a sudden, these guys, Colin Jacobs might have been one of the first players, I think, got drafted by Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken. Then you had first round picks getting drafted out of there, and it's got a great program now. I know Craig plays a big part in that, getting that up and running, and just the growth of the game. Anytime you win, you get the attention, and then we were able to, Jim Lights and his group were able to build off of that by building the rinks. And hockey is a main sport, obviously, in Texas now, and then you have Austin now, and I'm not going to be shocked if there's another pro team in Houston maybe soon. So the game is growing, and I think it's been great. And I think it starts out with that group that, again, I'm not just saying it's good Craig's there, but his group, his guys that came in here and set that foundation, made hockey what it is today.
See that? He's trying to soften your barbs that you're gearing up to throw,
I know
but
they're
being
coming.
nice and complimentary.
Does he know about the float?
Tell him about the float.
We had, you're good friends with Jim Nill. We had Jim on here last year, right?
It was during the season last year.
Anyway, I've been asking 4 or 5 different people, like when Dallas wins the Cup, whenever that is, I believe that there should be an alumni float. I mean, for our guys, right? I mean, that's only appropriate. Well, everybody kept punting that one, from Brad Alberts to Janko, and then Jim tried to punt it too. And ultimately, he said, okay, Luds, you're going to get your float. So could you pass that along to Monty, that Luds is looking forward for getting on a float here before we have to get it handicap accessible? Army, I sent a text message that night, and I sent it to probably about 14 guys that I had their numbers. Every single one of them responded within 1 minute, like pumped up that they're all going to be here. And you can imagine there were a couple good comebacks, right? Holly was one of them, because I told him Hitch is going to be on the float, and the other one was Keener. Now, I'm going to save it. I'll text that to you.
Don't sandbag us
but
now.
it's good. Army, you'll love it. You are going to absolutely love it.
Don't forget to tell him as well that there was a requirement, a rider in your deal with Jim about what was going to be provided on said float.
I don't remember that.
I believe he said that there would be a stocked cooler.
Yeah.
And you said there better be one just for me and then for the rest
No, I
of
think
it.
I said one apiece.
Okay.
Go ahead on.
Well, that's one of the things that made that team that Craig won on. So the personalities from Keane and to Holly to Hitchcock to Brian Scrudlin, who I knows really well. I would love to be a fly on the wall if that group ever did get together. I had a lot of laughs just watching them from a distance when I was with the team, and I'm sure those stories are only getting better and better.
Army, I don't know if you remember. I know you got to do a break here.
That's okay.
I don't think you remember this, but after I think it was the second round, I decided to go with a certain band to Mexico City for a concert. I actually called Army after I called Stucco, I think Army's response is, I don't know anything, and he hung up on me.
Didn't want to know, didn't want to
I
get
took
involved.
that as
Well,
a green light. I thought that was a green light.
Can I ask real quick before we go to break?
Please.
It's always
Doug,
better to ask for forgiveness, right, Lenny?
Yes.
Doug, we just talked about Brett Hull. Just before we go to our break, what's it like seeing Brett Hull during that 2019 run in the arena, in the crowd, just having a very good time
Singing
from the
Gloria.
look of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? To know Hully is just to appreciate the passion and how much fun he was having with it. Like, Brett Hull doesn't take Brett Hull overly serious, so none of the rest of us do. It was great. There's a couple of people here, Kelly Chase, who's a good friend of Brett Hull's. Like it meant so much to them for St. Louis to be in that position, and yeah, he had a great time. But we have a new building because of Brett Hull. There's a lot that Brett Hull has done here, so for him to enjoy that run, that was great to see. And whatever you saw on the screen, he was even better at the parade.
Well, I have to ask one follow-up because
Do it.
you've been involved with the first Stanley Cup for 2 different franchises now. That has to be a little extra special. I mean, winning a Stanley Cup is great no matter what, I'm sure. But when it's the first, that's pretty special, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the one in Dallas, as I said, it came so fast. I was obviously quite a bit younger then, and so I wasn't really sure what to expect. And I was working with people that all they had done was win. So I wasn't as shocked, when you had multiple Stanley Cup champions around there, and Bob surrounded that team with Joe Newendike and Carbo coming in, and the hungry people like Hull and Belfour. So that one, I appreciated the one in 19 because it was it was 50 years for a franchise, not 6, and that made and there was a lot of heartache. And what I did learn though, and I think you see in all sports is I just want to win one before we die. And then we weren't the parade. Well, make that 2. so people's expectations move quickly. But no, it's great to be part of any championship. But the first one is special. I'd love to be part of a second one at some point too.
Well, we're going to talk more about that because there is a tournament coming up before the next Stanley Cup is awarded. We'll get into that next with Doug Armstrong right here on DLLS.
But first, I get to talk. And
You do.
yes, you know what I get to talk about. The Cowboys. They are 0-1.
What's your favorite thing?
They lost to the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champs last night. I did not watch the game, but I heard it was a doozy.
There was a weather delay in the
There was a
middle.
weather
of the
delay.
second
There
half.
was
That
some,
was painful.
there was some spitting.
was painful.
I heard. So
That was wild.
if
What a
you
start.
want to watch your Cowboys,
Nah.
why not watch them in Vegas with the DLS Cowboys crew? Because the Cowboys and DLS Sports are headed to Vegas for the first time ever to play the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium on Monday Night Football. True Fan Travel is bringing the ultimate Dallas diehard experience to Sin City. Join hundreds of passionate fans for a legendary long weekend packed with Cowboys pride, unbeatable nightlife, and a stadium takeover at Allegiant Stadium for Monday Night Football. Expect exclusive fan events, premium accommodations, and unmatched game day energy. I mean, Jesse Holly's going to be there, so that's just enough of a reason to go on its own. Whether you're there for the game, and John Anderson, RIP. Whether you're there for the game, the parties, or the unforgettable Vegas energy, this is a trip you will not want to miss, and you'll be staying at the luxurious Mandalay Bay. So what is included? Let me tell you. What if I told you that DLS is taking over the Strip, and this all-inclusive trip includes a 3-night stay at a luxury Vegas resort, Mandalay Bay, I now learned, game tickets, VIP parties, exclusive events with that DLS crew and fellow diehard fans, and much, much more. This is how Dallas does Vegas, so book now at truefantravel.com. Now, we also have some pretty cool apparel that we've been talking about a lot. We got this
classic diehard.
one
This
of the
is
old
Ardell's favorite
OG
shirt.
diehard green shirts right there. This is just green shirt. You can find it at any Target. But we have plenty of stuff on alldls.com, including the new Dallas collection, which we've been talking a lot about. I still have not gotten my
Spit it out.
No, I'm not going to say it.
Imagination of mascots at
Are
the
you?
top there.
What do you do? Order it? Or?
Big text. No, I was just seeing if Ben will hand it to me.
He's not. I mean,
the DLS
how long it took you
barbecue,
to get the audio?
Dallas vs. all
The
y'all.
Otter
All
shirt?
these available on alldls.com. Go
It's
check it out
amalgamation.
now with the amalgamation. Did you hear about Luds changing shirts the other day
I
because we
did.
were matching?
I actually watched the show.
Rude.
I was curious
Hold on.
to hear the full thing. But let's bring
Hey,
Doug back in as Luds has lost his
isn't it
focus
weird?
already.
As you're talking about the Cowboys event, Charles Haley is texting me, reminding me about the golf tournament on Wednesday that I'm playing in with him. Like, I'm telling you, it's spooky with this guy.
Base Luds.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Base
Army's
in
back.
time.
Army's back, and I'm going to steal this one because let's talk about the Olympics for a minute. You guys, you've been involved with Hockey Canada, Doug, for a very, very long time, and you had a lot of success. And frankly, your trophy cabinet looks pretty nice because of it. The first thing I thought was, or more of a question, you weren't officially part of the Don Sweeney, Jim Nils, Julien Brisebois, Kyle Dubas, and Ryan Getzlaff management for Four Nations, but did you have some sort of ancillary role with that group? Because you, at the time, had already been announced that you were going to be the GM for the 2026 Olympics.
Yeah, I think the fancy term was executive director, meaning I had signed on with Hockey Canada and I basically oversaw the last two World Championships and the Four Nations, naming a manager to each one of those so we could get more people involved. But I was at the tournament, I was in the meetings and with the guys. It was a great event. It was far beyond what anyone thought it was going to be.
Did you have any idea that the level of play was going to be such an incredible? I mean, that tournament, I guess we all didn't know just how sort of starved for this competition the players were, but did you have any clue that the pace was going to be that fast, that the intensity, the passion was going to be there?
Yeah, the pace for sure I thought was going to be at that level. I didn't know the intensity was going to be at that level. And it really, obviously, with the USA Canada game in Montreal, the way it started, after that, all bets were off. You better not have brought a butter knife to a gunfight at that point. And it got serious. And I think there was so much happening, as we're all aware, between America and Canada, the 51st state, and the rivalry. There was just a lot built up for that. And I wasn't sure going in it was going to have that, but it became apparent quickly that the players that were in that event had never played internationally, best on best. It's been a decade since the World Cup in 2016. A lot of these guys, wanted to make their mark, and hockey was the big winner for that event. And I think the four teams that participated in that certainly have an understanding and a leg up going into the Olympics because they were together, and likely 80% of those rosters will be the same. So there's a little bit of advantage there. But the tournament itself, I didn't know it was going to take that, first 9 seconds of that Saturday night game in Montreal, and that was great for hockey for sure.
Since Owen brought up the Four Nations, I want to ask about Thomas Harley. Sort of stole a lot of hearts at that tournament, made a name for himself for people that didn't already know him down here. Can you just kind of take us through that whole situation and then how impressed you were with him for taking on as well as he did?
Well, he was obviously right on our radar screen, but he didn't get selected. And at that time, you were only allowed to bring one extra D, one extra forward, and one extra goalie. And we had an injury. A guy Theodore broke his hand in the first game, and then Bakar got sick. So he was actually in Mexico, I think, when we called him. He got on a plane. He came up there. He couldn't skate with us. And then all of a sudden, he had to play with no practices. And he jumped in there, and he played very well. Obviously, Jimmy spoke so highly of him and Pete going into the selection process. And then when he got there, and I think Luds can really understand this better than all of us, is how someone like Drew Doughty brought him along, a veteran player on the right side, calmed him down, told him like, hey, just relax, it's just hockey, play your game. And he was great for Harley in that event. But he's not sneaking up on anyone anymore in the playoffs or in these events. He's going to have a excellent opportunity, if he plays well this fall to make the Olympic team, and he's a core piece of, I think, that Dallas team moving forward, and he's a hell of a hockey player.
Army, when you and your staff are assembling the team that you're going to take, are you looking at it from a standpoint of the players that you select and how do we beat the United States? Or is it just in general we're taking the best players? And does the ice sheet size have anything to do with your selections of players?
We're going to take the best team. We have to build a team. You have to have every component, whether it's both ends of the specialty teams, face-offs. There's a lot that goes into it. Luddy, and this goes back to our time together. I remember for a while there, we lost to Detroit that one time in the semis, and we started. I did. Bob didn't. That's why Bob was the manager and I wasn't. I said, well, we got to build these teams to beat Detroit if we want to win the cup. We never played Detroit again. So
I'm glad you brought that up. But no, keep going. I'm going to ask you after this.
Yeah, and so yeah, right now it looks like there's a potential of a collision course with the Americans, but anything can happen along the way to the party. So I think we just want to build a team that can compete against anybody. I think if we build a team that can compete with the Americans, I'm confident can compete with anybody else. But we're not going to build it to say, all right, we have to have a player that can neutralize this player on that team. We're just going to build a more of an overall team. And the ice service it started out supposed to be NHL size. Now it's actually going to be smaller. So we're going to have to go, Letty, back to the old video of the Odd and find out.
Or Boston, the old garden.
How you play in a shoebox.
How much smaller is it going to be, Doug?
I think I've heard 5 feet shorter. I
Really?
don't know if it's
Than
coming
the
out of the
NHL
neutral. Yes, I've heard that. Again, I don't know if they're running out of material or time to build the whole thing, but it's not quite finished. But I don't know if is it going to, like, we don't know what zone it's going to come out of. Is it the neutral zones? Is it going to come out from the blue lines in? Is it equally divided? So there's things that we're still picking up, but I think when you go into something like this, you realize that everyone is on the same footing, and it is what it is, and we'll have to find a way to adapt to it. And I think my experience on anything international is if you're willing to adapt and understand that things aren't going to go right, you have a better chance for success, and that's what we're going to do with the ice surface. But as far as building a team to beat one team, that's not going to be our approach.
Well, the reason I wanted to go back to the Detroit thing, and I know I'm kind of going away from this a little bit and going back to your 2019.
You could always bring up college hockey.
No, I'll leave that to Sam. But it reminded me of that because I wanted to ask you that. Like I got a call, obviously we know from whom, at the end of that season prior to winning the cup, wanting to know the strength of our groom. Can we handle a certain player, a personality? And I didn't know who it was. The name wasn't there, obviously, at the time. And I'm like, I'm not worried about who you bring in here. We're good. And we knew that, I think. But so ultimately it ends up being Brett Hulley won the cup. So it goes back to 2019. I wondered if when you brought in Ryan O'Reilly, was there any thought process of that? Because Hulley ends up being, doing what he did. O'Reilly ends up being the MVP. Was there any looking back and saying what player can help us get to where we want to go, and it just ends up being him? Or
yeah, well, we were looking to strengthen the most important part of our team, which was our center ice. And it takes the perfect storm for things to happen. Ryan was you had a holdout in Colorado that didn't end well. They're hurt feelings, so then they trade him to Buffalo. Buffalo's not playing to the level that he wants to play at, and he's starting to see his career stall. And he had an exit meeting where he said that he probably didn't handle it well in his comments, and that predicated him being available. But when we brought him in here, our belief was, again, going back to those teams that Bob Clark and Bob Gainey would construct our the sum of all the parts, and he was a perfect player for what we needed. He came in, he had the right demeanor, he could touch all aspects of the game. Again, I keep going to Luddy because we share so many memories together, but he's a poor man's Yuri Lettinen. Just you put him anywhere, not even a poor man's Yuri Lettinen. He's that type of player, with one sulky, not three. But, this line's not going, okay, put Yuri there. This line's not, okay, put O'Reilly there. This guy's not going, okay, give him this. They're just masterful players that play all aspects of the game, from power play to penalty kill, 5-on-6, 6-on-5. So he was that type of player that we thought we needed. To play deep, you have to have players that can affect, top players that can affect every part of it. And that's where O'Reilly came in and has delivered as advertised.
Hey, I want to jump back real quick, Doug, to the Hockey Canada discussion, because you guys just had your orientation camp, and a lot of players, more than you'll be able to take. But from the reporting I read, it sure sounded like, it's been 10 years, right? 2014 in Sochi, then there's that huge break where we didn't have best-on-best NHL players in international competition. And you mentioned it, that group did not experience it. They didn't know what it was like. They didn't know what to expect from the coaches, and then this orientation camp feels like old home week for a lot of these. It's got to be a huge, I know you mentioned the 4 teams have a leg up, but a huge advantage in preparation for the Winter Olympics in Italy to have gone through what you did last year, not just from a Hockey Canada, but also dealing with an NHL mid-season kind of break too.
Exactly. The players, they're all going to say, what, at my day job, I'm just going to worry about that and let the rest. But we're going to be out scouting everybody. If you want to make that team, you have to be on your best from really October 7th till January 1st, and everybody wants to make that team. I think some of the synergy that's behind the scenes is with your training staff, and your coaches. Every player is different on how they prepare, and and it's the trainers that take most of the brunt of it, quite honestly. Like this stick, I need the tape here. I need to set up exactly here. I need a glass of water exactly 4 minutes and 7 seconds left before I go out on ice. We got all those rhythms now under play here, and I think it's going to be very helpful. And also working with the coaches, I think that we're bringing the same coaching staff back that's going to allow the meetings to flow quicker, with less questions, and hopefully they can pick things up faster. And that's where I think the big advantage is going to come from the 4 teams that participated.
All right, this is our end of time. Do you have a few extra minutes? We have more questions.
I got nothing but time.
Perfect.
Oh, beautiful.
More
wrong answer, Army. I'm just telling
Keep
you.
you on for a couple hours here.
All right, well, we have a hard out eventually,
Yes.
but let's do one more ad break here on DLS. Uh-oh, and it froze. There we go. Okay, my turn. Let's talk about a couple of things. First, we do.
Army get to watch this, or what's the deal?
No.
Oh, give Ryan him a break. There we go.
Ryan. Let's get it together there. Ring the bell. Every time there's a boo-boo, ring the bell.
Can you see why we're on number 3 already? Join the football club.
We'll have a new
That's
one
right.
Monday.
That's right. I know, right? Ryan will go to the weekend. I've made a horrible mistake. Well, the DLS Die Hard sale is still going on until Monday. Speaking of which, so whether or not we have a brand new producer again on Monday or not, you still have the weekend to sign up to be a Die Hard for only $36 for your first year if you have not subscribed before. And you get a free T-shirt of the football club, one of the 3 on the screen right now, the 88 Club, the Dem Boys, or the, yes, Sam, that's a cowboy riding a horse, DLS
Yes.
football one. He looked at it the other day.
I cannot see it. I
and
have my
you said,
glasses on.
I don't know what that is, a cowboy on a horse. But anyway, scan the QR code. That'll give you access to all the things of being a diehard, including the Discord. You get that T-shirt, as I mentioned about. And if you're an existing diehard, you can use your 20% off merchandise to get one of those football club shirts. So it doesn't have to just be for signing up for a new diehard subscription. Now, speaking of which, the Supporters Club. We talked about it in the open after I was so excited to get into the Joe Pavelski talk. Join the brand new Supporters Club. This is a YouTube thing. When you're watching the show, and as you see on the top right, it's true sicko level stuff. So if you're one of the diehards that are on every show, Ardell, I'm kind of looking at you, or Harry, or Burned Oils, or Carly. See, Travis is in there today. You get the idea. You want to stand out a little bit? Well, you can have special colors. You can have special emojis. You can see over in the bottom right corner, the 88 emoji for the Cowboys. It looks like that's big text, or at least somebody in a sombrero. The bing bong, that's very much for us. There's also Dirk doing the fadeaway, which is really cool. The Anthony Davis unibrow. You get the point. There's a couple of tiers in there as well, where there's an even bigger one where you can get access to very exclusive content. So Check it out. Sign up to be a diehard and be part of the supporters club right here on DLLS. All right, let's bring GM Mr. Armstrong, not GM Benn, not the one you fight about T-shirts every day, but Army. There's a lot, man. I was texting with Luds this morning in preparation to having you on, and I said to him, I said we could have you on for 2 hours without running out of topics. He said, yeah, maybe 4. But there's a lot here. And so I guess one of the things I want to do before we get into some of the Blues questions is Dallas Stars. From your perspective, obviously you worked in this organization, but it's been a while. You've been in St. Louis now for a very long time. And I'm curious how you see this organization. You were mentioning San Jose a little earlier as we were talking about Pavelski and Thornton and do you make the Hall of Fame or not? And we had a guest on from Ottawa, I believe it was Julian McKenzie from The Athletic, who mentioned that the Stars are really close, but if you aren't careful, you could end up being a team that's really good a number of years but never get over the hump. And he referenced San Jose. So what do you think of the Stars right now, how they're constructed and how much they're a thorn in your side as you try to build the Blues?
Yeah, well, I look at my time in St. Louis, and Dallas has been a contending team for a long time. The year we went to the semifinals and finals, we had to go through Dallas, and we came out on the right end of it. I probably a little, I don't know, self-serving or whatever. I think and Bob Gainey again, I go back. We were talking about Bob earlier. Like your job is to get to the dance as often as you can, and sometimes you'll get to dance with the prom queen. You know, that's where Dallas is at, and they've been to the finals. They've been to the Final Four. I wouldn't reinvent the wheel. They have a top level manager, obviously, in Jimmy, 3-time GM of the year. They got a new coach in there now that has familiarity with some of the players, but ultimately they have star players, and you know they're as good as anyone else that has an opportunity. And I taking it back to football, I look at the Buffalo Bills. They lost 4 times in a row. That means they were in the finals 4 years in a row. That's a hell of an accomplishment. So Dallas is doing a lot of things right. I know that when we circle teams that we think have a chance to win, that we have to be our best on, they're at the top of that. But they're there with Colorado. And sometimes you need luck to get through. Sometimes you need a good break. And sometimes what we talked about, you can't control who you're going to play, So Dallas, if I would just keep doing what they're doing, they're on the right path. They got great leadership at the top. Their building is full. It's a great place to play. They have zero issue acquiring players and retaining players because of the market, because of the sports town and the taxes. It's a top franchise, and I don't know if they'll get through again, but they're in the top teams that have the opportunity to, and that's really all you can do going into the season is hope for.
Army, it's not always a good thing when you leave with the prom queen. It doesn't always mean it's going to be a good thing. Talking about building, you are going to, I guess, relinquish the GM job at the end of this year, just be the big dog sitting up in the big office up there. Why is Alexander Steen the right guy?
Well, I'm very familiar with him. When he played here, what type of player he was, the type of respect he had throughout the organization from players, coaches, trainers, his ability to flow throughout the group. Again, he reminds me a lot of Bob in that sense. He could go out for a beer with the biker group, and then he could go out to a nice dinner with the more established players. He was able to do both, but more importantly, he's got great hockey knowledge. And the reason behind it, Craig, is when you're doing one job, and it'll be my 15th or 16th, 17th year as a manager. I owe it to the team that rhythm has to be broken. My rhythm as the manager now, everyone understands it, from the trainers to the marketing staff to everybody, and you understand. So when people know my rhythms, just stay away from them today. It'll go over. Or I think there needs to be a freshness in there. And it's not that I don't love being a manager. I can't imagine doing anything else, except when we ask people to sacrifice for the team, when I knew it was time for me to sacrifice for the team so it could move forward, I wanted to present someone I thought could be their own man, but sort of have some of the traits that we have built off of culturally. And Alex Steen, was a perfect fit.
Doug, you and your staff really got people's attention last summer. Maybe you are solely responsible for the reawakening of the offer sheet in the NHL when you offer sheeted Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway, college hockey player, Wisconsin.
Of course.
Of course.
But I just would love to hear your side of that whole situation, how that came onto your plate, how you started to go about the process, and then how it all came together, and then how excited you are of what those two players obviously bring to now St. Louis.
Yeah, it was an interesting process because we were, sitting there on July 1st of what would be 24 and wondering what we're going to do, and then you start to see. I thought Edmonton, they were extremely aggressive. They signed some free agents, and so their cap was dwindling to a point, where we talked about it. Why I kept challenging our group, and I broke our group into subgroups. Like, challenge me why they all match it. Tell me why this makes no sense. And it kept coming back to, it might not work, but it might work. And the only reason that you want to do an offer sheet, or my belief is because you honestly believe you can get the player. And the way that their contracts were structured, what they, doing a 1 year deal wouldn't have made them second guess, but we knew they had Bouchard coming up. We knew they had Draisaitl's contract going to kick in. So it was just a combination of doing our homework, seeing if we could get it to work out, and then also having an owner that wasn't concerned about going to the next board meeting and having people look at him sideways. Our job is to do what's best for the St. Louis Blues. He bought into that, and then when we ended up getting the players, they had an opportunity to grow with our team because of where we were at, that they might not have had in Edmonton, or quite honestly, they might not have had in Dallas. A mature group that doesn't have space. We're not a mature group when we had space. So they came in, and I honestly think they've progressed our reawakening by 2 or 3 years, because you're bringing in players 22, 23 that are ready to take off, and they did last year. And now we surround them with a few more players. When we started this retool, or I always say it's a whatever. We wanted to get as many players as we could within a 4 or 5 year birth range. And so we were able to do that. They fit perfectly in with some of our other players. And now this group has a chance to grow. I don't know how good they can be, but I think there's enough talent there that they can take it to where they want to.
We're almost out of time, which is too bad because I have 10 more things at least to ask. But it made the jump for Jim Montgomery. We know him here in Dallas. Really like Monty. Obviously, he had some things in his personal life, and he's been very public about it. You offered an olive branch as an assistant coach. Now, was it a no-brainer for you when he became available to pounce? Because he seems, and Jim Nill, even to this day, we've talked to him about it. He felt he made the right decision hiring Monty when he did out of Denver.
Yeah, Monty's a special coach, and I'm a firm believer in second opportunities. I think, trust me, I don't live in a glass house, so far from me to cast stones, but everybody deserves a second chance. Now, not many people get third chances, but a second chance. And we've done that with probably 5 or 6 different people along the way. He came here as an assistant coach, did an excellent job for us. Obviously went to Boston, had the best regular season in the NHL history. And so this as the story goes here in St. Louis, like when I went to bed, I think it was a Tuesday night, we had a young coach, and we were a young team where we were willing to take our licks and see through it. And then I woke up and Jim Montgomery was available, and I called our owner and I said, "You're going to think I'm crazy. We've never talked about this, but we need to explore this." And again, he was understanding the background. He was for it. I called Boston, and within, I think it was 48 hours, he was behind our bench. And I felt bad for the current coach, because he had done nothing wrong, except our job as managers is do what's always best for the organization and the franchise. And Monty was the perfect coach for where we are at that point. And I think he has the ability to not only grow with us, but when we get there, he has a skill set to hopefully give us playoff success.
Army, we started with Joe Pavelski, a retired player, U.S.
Ding.
Hockey Hall of Fame.
There he is.
We can leave with this. You drafted Jamie Benn, right? And so eventually Jamie's going to be done. Your thoughts on Jamie Benn and his career up to this point?
Yeah, I have to be honest, lads. Like where he was drafted, I had never even heard of him. The year we drafted him, I think he was a 5th-round pick. But I had an opportunity to work with him in international events, and he's the type of player. I was lucky to work with Brendan Morrow. He's that type of player. He's the guy that you put the puck on the ice and you tell me how you want to play and I'll be there. You want to play with skill? Count me in. You want to fight? Count me in. He'll drag other people in. I think as you're talking about Joe Pavelski as a Hall of Famer, you're like, to me, Jamie Benn has those exact same qualities. I hear people talk about him as a leader in that room. What I've seen, he's a star, and I'm so excited for the city and for Jamie that he found a way to stay there this year. And I hope he plays as long as he wants, but stays with that franchise because they deserve it and he deserves it.
Cool.
You guys giving me crap because we're in overtime again.
Yeah.
No, we can be ending it now.
Yeah.
Army was cool and stayed
He
on.
was very cool. And we could take our licks and have him talk about how great it was from his perspective to win in Game 7 of the second round in 2016, or the double OT game in 2019 where Jamie Benn.
I got lots of time if you want to talk about
That's what I figured.
We get in trouble.
Because that's the thing, is that it's so funny. The Dallas perspective, especially 2016, that team was so good under Lindy Ruff, and 3 goals in the first period of Game 7 in Dallas. It's one of I think the low points of a really great season. I mean, it's probably the lowest of a team that thought they could win a Stanley Cup. And you have the other perspective of you guys got past that and on to the conference final because of that game and that series.
Yeah, and it's funny, you don't really remember that from our perspective. I just remember how disappointed we are we lost to San Jose and go to the finals. So I think and it's as Luddy knows, it's like winning the cup was awesome, but seeing Jason Arnott score hurts more than you sometimes remember the bad things more than the good things, which is too bad about how we look at things. But no, we had some great rivalry. We had St. Louis and Dallas has built a rivalry through those playoffs, and it lives till today.
Well, and I want to just end with this, and I appreciate you giving us extra time because I always say we'll do a little bit more. But Monty said something at the end of Game 7 after you guys lost in just heartbreaking fashion to Winnipeg. See, I brought it around so that we're sharing the pain, lads. Because, as you well know, it looked like it was going to be Dallas and St. Louis again until a couple of seconds left in that game. And Monty said something I really liked, and he said, it's my job as a coach, or our job as coaches, to get the team to play as close to their ceiling as they're possible. And he said this group was pretty close to that. Do you agree with that?
It still stings.
That's a no.
Well, I think we played close to our ceiling for 58 minutes, but you can't. There's no excuse for blowing a two goal lead with 2 minutes left. Like I'm not sure how you ever sugarcoat that. I don't care if it went off a guy's skate. It doesn't really matter. That should never happen. And obviously it still stings today. Not that we want to play Dallas, but you just want to. The guys have earned the right to go on to the second round, and collectively we didn't get it done, and that was really painful because it was something that their last 5 weeks had given that opportunity to potentially knock off the number 1 team in the NHL in the regular season and then go play a team that had cup aspirations, but we didn't get it done, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I
Army,
like I like those first 2 things you want to talk about.
Yeah, you want to talk about 2019 again?
Yeah, but you know what, Army? Those players now at camp and when your season gets started, they have to be reminded of that feeling. You know what I mean? And you got to remember that feeling all year long.
It's that Detroit feeling, before we won in '99. You guys, I'm sure you brought that in, and it carries with you. Like we're not as mature as that team. We have to build our own. Like we can't just think we're going to pick where we left off. But I'd be shocked if everyone as part of this organization isn't still as disappointed with that ending, but it's what we do with it. As Letty said, if we can build on it, great for us. If we dwell on it, then shame on us. So we have to take our licks, but we have to learn from them and be better. And that will be our focus going into camp, is making sure our 5-on-6 is better than it was last year.
Well, it's been great.
Thanks, Army.
Doug, thank you so much. You've been very generous with your time. Like I said, we could ask you 3 hours more of really good stuff, but really appreciate it. And thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Army.
I've really enjoyed this, guys. Take care.
All right.
There he goes. Doug Armstrong, the GM of the St. Louis Blues and of the Hockey Canada Olympic team for 2026. Guys,
Keep your eye on Wyatt Johnston this year.
we have a big show coming up on Monday because it's the weekend now. But Sam, you want to tease Monday's show?
Yes, Monday we have Stars forward Maverick Bourque joining the show. I think in the middle 2 segments. Remote.
And he's not coming in studio yet.
No, not in studio yet. We have some things happening for that. But Maverick Bourque joins us on Monday, and then Bill Guerin on Tuesday. It's going to be a fun week next
Minnesota
week.
Wild.
And then the
It's funny,
Stars.
you have a general manager of Team Canada, and now we've got the general manager
I've
of...
never accused you of not having a method to your madness. Never. He knows. Don't let the look ever confuse you. The wheels are turning there. All right. For Craig Ludwig, Sam Nessler, and of course our producer Ryan Vaughters, I'm Owen Newkirk. And of course, a huge thank you to Doug Armstrong. We will be back on Monday, 2:00.
Big brothers,
for
big sisters. Donate.
a big Maverick Bourque Stars podcast. Have a great weekend. So long, everyone.
We all silly like the mayor.